Welcome to Council Connect. I'm Councilwoman Melissa Sampey, and on today's show, we are discussing disabilities awareness. About 1 in 4, or 61 million U.S. adults reports having some form of a disability. I'm excited to have a few guests who have agreed to talk about this topic. Later in the show, I will talk with Rebecca Rodgers, a licensed counselor from Hygera Health in Westland. She has an expertise with children with intellectual and developmental disorders, children with serious emotional disturbance, and persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Rebecca and I will debunk some myths and share some information on mental health and programs in our community. More importantly, disability inclusion is about recognizing all abilities. It's about recognizing that the ability someone has, how they function, how they participate in society, how they integrate, how they succeed, and their individuality should be reflected in every aspect of life. As a special needs autism sibling and a family member to those who suffer from mental and developmental disabilities, this is an important topic that often goes unspoken about. The stigma surrounding mental and developmental disabilities is real and damaging. It's time we start talking about it so we can remove the shame and stigma from those who suffer from these conditions. I hope you'll stick around, learn more about the topic, resources, and some personal experiences. Well, thank you for joining me today, everyone that's tuning in. Today's topic is disabilities awareness, which is definitely near and dear to my heart, being a sister to a brother who has autism and all the challenges that those with disabilities have to go through. So I wanted to put together a show to give some just information and awareness on this topic. And I have quite a few guests here today, but my first two guests I'd like to introduce is Ray Schuholz, and I also have Paschal Eze. Gentlemen, I'll give you a little bit of background, but thank you for being on the show, both of you. I have some questions if you guys don't mind me asking you.
I don't mind you asking me.
Awesome.
Melissa.
Awesome.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. So Ray, you are the Disabilities Advocacy Committee Chair.
Yes, I am.
Which I know you're so busy with different things going on. You're also a mentor with Community Living Services and a mental health ambassador with DWIN.
That's
Did I get everything right?
You got everything right.
Okay. Awesome. And you are active in the community. So I see you out all the time. You are doing talks, you do webinars. You're so busy, and you're advocating for those and sharing your story about those that have a disability and living a successful life.
Yes, I hope when people hear my story today with my passion, to know that people are out there and are living a life, are married, have homes, and
Absolutely.
living in the community.
Yeah, so why don't you mentioned that. So you're currently living at Community Living Services. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about that and where you live and what you do day to day?
Okay, where I'm currently living at right now is in Redford. I have 2 roommates. It's not a group home.
Okay.
I live a self-determined life, so
Yes.
people know. I also drive a car. I'm also very involved into the community. Also, with my work, I'm also a peer mentor. So right now, I'm currently working with 15 people. Some are weekly, some are monthly, some every other week. But it keeps me busy.
Yeah, so you're like you said, you're working with people. So are you doing mentorship training?
I do a mentor. I'm
Okay.
also a mentor trainer too.
Oh my gosh,
So
you're
we
so
just
busy.
got done training
Yeah.
Wisconsin, a matter of fact, on Zoom.
Okay.
And these people were, these peers were eager and ready to go.
Yeah. So you are doing mentorship training, and I know that you've done a lot of different webinars. So previous to to this show today. You shared me some webinar clips, which I'm so proud of you for
Thank
being an
you.
advocate. But tell me a little bit more about that. Can
Well,
you tell those watching at home?
The reason why I've done these webinars because of my life story. I want to talk a little bit about how I started. Well, I started
yes,
from
absolutely.
living in an institution, and it
Okay.
was not no place. It was like system-centered, which I mean by that is no freedom. You get like 10 people on the wall, you hose them down outside, there's no privacy with stall doors, you couldn't even pull the switch up on the walls. Matter of fact, if you didn't eat their food, they would put you like in a closet.
Oh
And
my
there's no way
gosh.
there's no way. And my parents came in and saw this, I tapped her on the shoulder, I said, I want a home and I want love. I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that I had adopted family that came in there and took me for 2 weeks. And I said, I don't want to go back there. He said, no, we're going to keep you.
So where you used to live, that was a...
No, I used to live out in Farmington, then I
Okay.
came out to Farmington Hills.
Okay.
A matter of fact, it's like walking up a ladder again. I was, when you're afraid of being from the institution, then you get out and you have to start like you're being robbed. You have to start all over again. So fortunately, with baby steps, but then my parents kept saying, Ray, you can do it. You can do it. We believe in you.
Yeah.
You can do it.
So tell me a little bit more about what type of challenges you had, like whether you growing up.
I had challenges being labeled. I have had challenges where neighbors were not accepted about people with abilities. They would say, we don't want these people in our neighborhood. It was really sad. I never knew. I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on. Why are they being so bitter?
Yeah.
But then the education is the key. And
you know what too, Ray, like I think when you and I first met and we connected because you did share your challenges, and for me, I am empathetic and I saw what my brother went through, and he would be in his house, in our house, and he would run out and he would try to play with what you would call atypical. What's normal nowadays? Nothing's normal, right? And he would come out and these kids would yell and scream and run away. And I saw what it did to him. And I saw how hard it was for him to feel accepted. So I mean, did you have those type of challenges?
I have those type of challenges too. When I lived at home, I've had like 3 girls, teenagers, matter of fact.
Yeah.
They were calling me crazy. They called me the R word. I want to say that word. But they said some really hateful stuff. They came up with me and tried to hit me, and I stood up to them. I didn't want to involve my parents. I finally because when you stop the bulliness, so I stopped it in that area. But it did continue, though. I mean, I've had it in the schools, too, when I went. Special education was not easy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is,
Because
did you go to like a regular high school?
I went like to a regular school,
Okay.
and I went to special ed. And them days of the 70s, the teachers will, say, well, they don't really have the time for you, so we put you out in the regular classes. And I think that's where the time that I felt like my self-esteem went down. Nobody wanted to be my friend, at first. But then later on, they were kind of looking out for me at the school there. So you leave that guy alone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you have a lot of friends now.
I have a lot of friends now, and I'll tell you something. People are talking to me now because I wanted to share something at work before, too. I was working at a hotel like 2005. For example, now we're in a new generation here. 2005, I've been labeled there too. I've been called crazy and you don't need to work here. And so, hey, I have the right to work there like anybody else.
Well, no, absolutely you do. And just like, everyone has the right to be accepted. And I mean, I think now, probably more than ever, and
You're
you
right.
can tell me otherwise, businesses have that equal opportunity. And, Pascal, we'll talk about that. But just looking at, like, the city and how far the city has come, too, with our committees that we're developing and Pascal's coming in and making a difference, here in the city and starting to really look at what type of resources we have and just the importance of the acceptance overall. So, you know, for you, Ray, coming in and being a chair, first off, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Being the chair of the
I was the one to
advocacy.
put this thing together. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, with Cicerelli at the time, when she was the
Yeah,
mayor.
former Mayor Cicerelli.
Former
yeah,
mayor at
yeah,
the time, and
yeah.
I met with her. I said, you know, I want to educate the public, is what I told her. Mm-hmm. And,
Well, I'm gonna pause really quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back to you, but I want to introduce C. Paschal Eze, since he's the man that we were just talking about as well. C. Paschal Eze actually has been serving in the Chief Diversity Officer position since May 2nd, 2022. We found him, actually former Mayor Wild found him, and what a blessing he's been to our city. He's really a liaison between the city officials and kind of organizations and other residents to kind of build relationships in the community and promote diversity and equity and inclusion, which again, you know, I think Ray, because you are a liaison,
Yep.
Ray's someone that you work with for your committee. So tell me a little bit more about your role and just like how the city has embraced diversity and how the city has embraced individuals with differences.
Isn't it nice that you can hear Ray talk?
Yeah.
Isn't it nice that over the years that you've known him,
Yeah.
you've appreciated the value he brings, the skills
Absolutely.
he has, the tenacity he has, the passion that he brings to the table. I'm so delighted to have Ray and other members of the community who are plugged in the community in different ways and are connecting us to so many organizations, so many
Yeah.
resources that are available there for people that are living with disabilities. I'm so glad that I'm part of all the experience. I get to work with different people to really stress, to highlight the value and the dignity that all of us do have.
Yeah.
The city has come a long way, as you know, Councilwoman.
Yeah.
The city has a non-discrimination ordinance, which is very, very important, that you don't discriminate against anyone for any reason whatsoever. The city set up, like he mentioned, the Disabilities Advocacy Committee. The city has a DEI commission, and the city is networking, working with so many organizations here, like STEP.
Yeah.
They do a great job right here in our community. Nankin Transit Commission. A lot of people are in the trenches of helping to bring awareness and helping to promote the truism that people who are living with disabilities have a lot to bring to the table. They are contributing immensely to our community. I prefer to say differently able.
Yes.
They are,
yes.
and we all are differently able.
Yep.
We all have individual challenges. We all are different in many, many ways. And it's so unfortunate that some people, I don't think it is predominant, choose to treat people who live with disabilities, treat them in a way that they should not. So my role is to tap into this community enthusiasm, work with everyone to make sure that we help our neighbors and our friends and our colleagues and our clients that we meet as business owners, help them feel a strong sense of belonging in the community, to feel that they are as part of the community as everyone else. And there are resources that are available. Part of our role is to help them tap into those resources. Part of our role is to harmonize efforts in the community toward making sure that if you live with any form of disability, you don't feel left out, you don't feel left behind, you feel plugged into the heart and soul of the community.
Yeah, that makes such, for me, that it touches me for one, but it makes such sense. And I think, like you mentioned this too, Ray, like we've come so far, but the resources that we have and the individuals and recognizing everyone as an individual. And everyone, I have learned so much, not only about myself, but about like other people and being around people that are different. And like you say, different abled, right? Is that
Differently abled.
Yes, differently abled. And I've
like
learned,
that word.
yeah, and I love that word. And I don't feel like we should say they're disabled or they have a disability. I mean, we again, Ray, like you say, we don't put
Labels on people, you put them on the cans.
exactly. So we don't do that. So you're, really part of your role in why Westland creates that culture of acceptance.
Yes.
Why do you think that's so important? Like here in Westland, creating that culture of acceptance. Like why do you think it's so important? I know why I do, but I'm curious on your thoughts.
We want to be a community. Community is not an individual. Community is not just one group. Community is all of us.
It's everyone.
With all our differences, with all our different challenges and opportunities, all of us as part of a project called Westland. And it is important that I was speaking at an event about a distinction between fitting in and belonging. And sometimes what people do is to try to fit in, try to live up to, set expectations. But belonging is bringing yourself the way you are. Everyone seeing you through the lens of who you are. And seeing you through the lens of how you want to be seen. That authenticity is what we're promoting. If I have a physical challenge, see me through not just the lens of my physical challenge, see me through the lens of a fellow member of the community. We have right here at City Hall a colleague of ours who has physical challenge. He comes, rides on a bus, comes in, and he sits on his desk. You wouldn't even know that. And he performs like everyone else. He performs his roles, and that's what we want to promote. That irrespective of your situation, you can be your utmost. You can perform to the best of your ability. And we want everyone else to see you through the lens of what you are able to do, what the potentials that you have, the values you bring to the marketplace of ideas, to all the things that we do. And I believe that when we begin to see each of us through that lens, it benefits the community as a whole. Just look at this. So 11.9% of Westland population under the age of 65 lives with invisible and invisible disabilities. If you isolate 11.9% of our population, if you don't give them opportunities, if you make them live with low sense of self-esteem, if you don't make the best use of the talents, of the skills, of the knowledge, of the wisdom that they have, who loses? The society loses.
Society loses,
The city loses.
The city does,
So it is important that we avail everyone the opportunity to bring their A game to the table. And that's what we are about. That's what this is about. I have had the opportunity to walk, like I said, with him. And I've seen, if I juxtapose the stigma that he talks about with the abilities that he projects, that he applies to daily experiences that we have, I'm wondering, why do they want to stick to this stigma? Why do they want to see him only through this lens? When, if you look at the other side of the equation, he is differently able, passionate, kind-hearted.
He's probably, the nicest person I've ever...
Nicest person that you can...
Positive.
Yes, friendly,
you are, right, I know.
cheerful, full of encouragement, full of support.
And get to know the person.
I got to know him, and sometimes he and I are chatting on Facebook till 10 p.m. right? You
Same,
yes,
same,
he
yeah.
sends me
Ray,
pictures
how
and
many times do you message me?
I message you too.
all the time. I
All
love
the
it.
time.
Yes.
So that understanding, that mutual respect,
Yeah.
is what is needed, not
It
just between us. It has to be part and parcel of our community, our culture, the culture of our community, that we value people, respect them, irrespective of their identity group, irrespective of the challenges that they have.
Yep.
I always ask this question: who amongst us is free of challenges, is free of problems? If it's free, we all have our different challenges. Mine is different from his. His is different than yours.
Yes.
So if we appreciate that commonality, that commonality of us belonging to the same community. I give this illustration about right here in this room. Whether somebody has mental challenges, financial challenges, whatever it is, the same air circulates here in this room. That one person breathes, another person exhales, and all that. It's a great equalizer. Air that we breathe doesn't know, who you are, what title you be, and things like that.
I wish more people thought like that too.
There are so many things that are equalizers.
So many people don't.
If I were to travel outside of this community, I travel often, and they ask me, where are you from? What do I say? Westland. Where do you say? Westland.
Westland, yeah.
So what is it? It's a common. It brings us together.
Yes.
Yes. I live in this community. I have my children in this community. I would want the community to be as best as it could be, because it will be good for them.
Yep.
And Ray is invested in this community,
Yes.
wants the best for the community, because that way we all benefit.
Absolutely. Were you going to say something, Ray?
I was going to say something. I invested with the diversity. I went to 2 of his diversities, was really good, one for business and one with the 3 ladies from Ohio. I'm also with our partnership with the police department as their great leadership there. Fire department, I trained them. I'm the ambassador's training.
Yeah,
mental health.
and I think for them, they appreciate you, and they also appreciate you, Paschal, too, for just like embracing them, because they're trying to be better. Our departments, and I will say this, Mayor Londo is really focused on being your best self, but also what can we do to be better tomorrow?
Yeah.
We always want to be better tomorrow, and he has that written at City Hall too. So I think, that's important
what I wanna
too,
do,
is
be
like
better.
you want to be better, we all want to be better, but at the same time, our departments are trying to figure out how we can be more accepting of those that could be a little different, but also what type of trainings can we do? And, C. Paschal Eze is doing his diversity training. You're bringing in very, very, very strong speakers that the community can also learn from too. So I think that's where us as a community, we're bringing the awareness and acceptance here to our city and to the table. And I applaud you too for doing that, because it's really kind of changed my view too for the city.
Thank you.
So maybe, I don't know who wants to take this one, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Disability Advocacy Committee.
Okay.
I'm passionate. I've attended your meetings. I think you guys do a great job. What's next? What do you
I
guys
love
got
it. We
coming
got
up?
this thing off the ground. I believe I started that 2007, and I felt, at first people weren't talking to me, but they are now. And that's what I was so happy about, because I never gave up. I always got off that couch and I could say, Ray, make it better. Make it better. I want to teach people that, you know what, we all have something.
Yeah.
No one in this world, we're not perfect. We all got something to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can, we can learn from one another. Like today when I was in Oakland County at our table, sometimes I still get that from people a little bit. But we're all at this table to learn from one another.
So go ahead. See, Paschal Eze, tell me what's next for the committee.
When I look at the composition of the committee, I'm excited. I'm filled with hope about what is possible. And I'm always delighted that when we meet, they bring ideas to the table. We have a retired special education teacher. We have a physician as a member of the committee. We have a PhD scientist. We have someone who works at STEP. We have Ray, of course. We have somebody with physical challenge. So right there, you see diversity. But beyond that, you see a passion, a type of passion that is beyond the ordinary.
Yeah.
Just a few days ago, we met, and Deborah Hunt brought someone from the Westland School District, a special ed teacher, to educate us on, we were thinking about, let's do something around disability awareness for students.
Yeah.
But when she came, she changed our understanding. She said, the teachers themselves, the general ed teachers do need disability awareness, training. So she recommended that we start from there, and that's what we're going to do. So is that kind of, we don't presume to know it all.
Yeah, we don't.
We're open to ideas. We network with a lot of individuals and organizations in the community. We bring them to our meetings, and they share their perspectives with us. I just want to mention, there's something that every meeting we have, Sergeant Kevin comes to our meetings.
Oh yeah, Kevin, yes.
And he's got something that I think is different, is very, very important. Many communities don't have database of families that have people living with disabilities. He's working on that right now.
Yes.
And it's not something that he's doing independent of the community. He is tapping into the ingenuity of the community, of the wisdom of the community to develop this database. Families are responding, individuals are sending him information. Look, you got to work with data. He's providing that. And it's not for public consumption. It helps the police department in serving the community. So they know if they come to a place and there's a child with autism, they have a better way. They have the resources. Now they have somebody who's a social worker. They have somebody who's, they're developing that capability to be able to deal with different issues that are aside, that are not part of the mainstream, the conventional police work. So whenever he updates us about what he's doing in that regard, my mind gets, it's wow, this is fantastic. And so we are tapping into, and no week passes, I must say, without an organization contacting us, ACT, many of them saying, we want to do, partner with you to do training. We want to do a site visit. For instance, we're going to go do a tour of STEP, just to see what they have here in the city. We are going to do working with Nankin, for instance, Transit, which, by the way, and
you guys just did your ride-along, too.
Yes.
So bummed on that, but go ahead. You talk about that.
We want to do more of that.
Yes.
I really believe Nankin Transit is at the forefront of protecting and promoting the interests of people living with disabilities in our community. Not just in our community, with 5 communities: Wayne, Westland, Inkster, Garden City, and Canton.
And it's affordable, too.
Affordable.
So,
and it's curb to curb. They pick someone with disability that wants to go for dialysis, that wants to go for, an interview, that wants to go to work. They pick the person from the person's curb and drop the person. I mean, you can't get any better than that.
And those are resources, too, that I don't think people understand.
Yes.
And even the resource, too, about the registry. So last year I talked on an autism awareness show that I did with Officer Ute. Him and I did a sit down, and he started to just briefly talk about the registry in addition to the autism care kits that people can get at the police station, they can get at City Hall. But the registry has grown dramatically. Yes. And you're right, like for those parents, my parents, for my brother, they have a sticker that they put on their windshield that says, autism, child on board, just so we can educate. And I always believe on education too. But that registry is now growing, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, other cities are approaching us.
Yes.
So Westland is a leader, in addition to the partnership that we're creating with Hygera Health.
Yes.
And my guest, after I'm done talking with you, Rebecca Rodgers is a licensed counselor from Hygera, and the city's creating a better partnership with organizations like you had stated, that are health organizations, that are just organizations that service those with special needs. So, yeah.
And it's important that people with special needs and the families that support them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
That there are institutions that are here that are committed to providing all the help that that they need. And part of what we do at DEI department is to spotlight those resources and help people. People call, we connect with people digitally and all that, to make sure that they know we are there with them.
Yeah.
There are agencies that are there with them, that are available, that are providing support, and we can point them in the direction of those agencies and help to any hurdle that they may face. When we talk about equity is about many a time removing the hurdle that people do confront, as that face them as they try to become full participants in a community experience. So I always encourage people, email us, call us, if you have any challenge, any difficulty, any problem, you're trying to connect to these services.
Is there specific resources from either of you that maybe those that have a challenge that you would instantly think like, okay, I would definitely contact this organization?
There is resources. Community Living Services, really big broadband resources. They have autism. They have had people they support that live a self-determined life.
So Community Living Services is yours. C. Paschal.
ARC of Michigan is
ARC.
Very, yes.
Yeah, ARC is good.
STEP is always they do a great job helping people get job,
They've
get
been
training.
in the community for 50 years.
Big time.
50 plus years.
Big time. And as you their president comes to our meetings. He's plugged in. He wants to know what we're doing. He offers ideas and suggestions, and we want that kind of collaboration with other agencies that serve that segment of our community.
Yeah. So STEP, and then Community Living Services, and then Westland also has, which we didn't talk about this. Director Paul Matz does a great job with the Westland Youth Assistance. I'm actually on the board for that as well too, so wanted to plug that.
They also do have a good youth program
They
out
do,
there.
yeah. So they have mentors. He does
there.
mentor trainings.
I spoke there before.
Did you?
For the in front of the parents and kids there.
That's great.
So I told them my story, and some parents got up and they at the end of the thing said, "Ray, wow, you're living an amazing life. That's great.
You do.
Thanks for sharing your story."
You do, Ray. Yeah. And again, I mean, it just kind of shows the true testament that any challenge that's been thrown your way, you've conquered it. And
I conquer it, and I'll still conquer it if it still gets in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I graduated from high school, and I'm proud of that. And I'm also want to mention City Council. I do go to City Council meetings a lot.
You do.
Do my updates and everything there too. So.
Yeah. Was there anything else? I really appreciate you guys coming on, and both of you, Ray, for sharing your story and just kind of talking a little bit more about the challenges that you went through, and C. Paschal for, sharing all of our resources and just really where the city's going. The city's really focused on embracive and compassion, and I know Mayor Landau is really focused on bringing those and continuing those resources. So former Mayor Wild did a great job teeing it up, but we have Mayor Landau who's going to, I think, see it through and continue to support and bring those resources. So
I also done webinars out there people want to know on YouTube.
Okay.
I also done language, people's first language is, for an example, a person's not confined to a wheelchair. They use a wheelchair.
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
That's, you know what?
So that's what I teach people about.
And I think those things too, Ray, if you share them with me, I'll put them on my Facebook.
Okay,
My
I'll
personal
share 'em with you.
Facebook page,
Okay.
Councilwoman Melissa Sampey, I'll put those on there for
Okay,
you.
cool.
So.
Yes, it is wrong to say wheelchair bound. I was sharing that, but that's the common parlance here. We say this person is wheelchair bound. We will advise that people say a wheelchair user. The wheelchair is supposed to give freedom to the person in it, so they can move around. If you say bound, you're confined. You're saying they lack that freedom. So there's some like we call it ableism. Somebody says, "Oh, this person is dumb." Don't describe anyone as dumb.
Right.
That's ableism. There are many times we don't do them out of malice, intentionally to undermine people's esteem. But I think if people can watch the words they use to describe other people, it will help go a long way in fostering this culture that we want, that we're advocating. A culture of respect and dignity, culture of acceptance, culture of collaboration, a culture of seeing people the way you want to be seen, culture of believing that all of us have great things to contribute to our community. So I would concur with Ray. Don't describe anybody as wheelchair bound or wheelchair confined.
Yeah. And I will say this, you know.
There's hidden there's hidden abilities too.
Yeah, there is too.
So you can't assume like sometimes they think they should see it. No, you don't see it. You should look at the person, not at their disability.
I always give people, I always say this too, the benefit of the doubt, because you don't know what they're dealing with, whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally too, like just always be kind. And I say that all of my council meetings, be kind with one another. And I hope that, that kindness can spread around, because I mean, there's so much hate in the world as we see it, gentlemen. I'm sure you know.
Let's start to love and stop to hate.
Absolutely.
Also, I want to end up before the thing on closure here. I just want to say Ray has worked as a peer mentor for 10 years, and I'm very happy with my job, and I'm very happy with the community, and people are talking to me now.
Awesome.
So I just wanted to leave that.
I love that. So that's your final thoughts. See, Paschal Eze, is there any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
My final thought is to thank the council for all the support that you give us in our work. You remember recently we had to change the name to Disability Advocacy Committee, and you invited the members of the committee to come and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. That's a wonderful thing. But I really want to stress that your viewers should see the DEI department as a resource to call and email and to partner with. If as an organization, partner with us. As an individual, as a family, give us a call, email us. We want to work with you. We want to listen to you. Sometimes people are very prescriptive about what they do. This is what you got to do. No, we want to talk with you and get to understand your situation and get to have a better understanding of how to channel what resources that will be applicable to you and how to direct you to those resources. So call us, email us, invite us to your events, invite us to your families. We do visit individuals, we visit businesses in the community. We want to be available to members of our community as part of this effort, this collective effort in making sure that everyone feels part and parcel of our beloved community.
Well, that's strong words.
Also, if you see me in the community, don't be shy. Say hi to me.
We will. I will give you a big hug and
All
tell you
right.
thank you. So, well, just to wrap up, so I know that you mentioned about calling and emailing. So how can they get in touch with you if they have questions or support? Is there a number or like an email address that they can use?
Email ceze@cityofwestland.com.
Perfect.
That's my email. I respond to my emails.
Even
email
late
me.
at night?
Yes, I do.
Because
I
I've emailed you,
I,
yeah.
I'm an early riser. My day starts at 4 a.m. So I do respond to emails. I want to know how others are doing and how I can be of help. And so when people email, Nicole and I have a wonderful assistant. She's a great support. And
She is, yeah.
She is, Nicole is. And I'm glad that two of us were, spreading the gospel, spreading the news, and
You are.
getting a lot of people on board as we help our community move to the next stage of this inclusion, journey that we are on.
Yeah. And what powerful words to end on. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. It
You're
really has
welcome.
been a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys sharing everything that you did today. I know that the community is going to embrace this and be excited. So my next guest, we'll be back in a few moments, but my next guest is Rebecca Rodgers from Hygera Health. She's a licensed counselor. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some myths and debunking. So stay tuned. We'll be back here in a few moments.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Ute.
And I'm Officer Kelly.
The Westland Police Department is dedicated to serving our citizens. Our officers have gone through numerous training programs focused on responding to scenes for persons with cognitive impairment, mental illness, or other diagnosis that may impact how a person interacts with law enforcement.
With that in mind, we have created a registry form for persons living with disabilities. This registry is available for anyone living, working, or visiting our city. The registry form is available at the Police Department, City Hall, and also online at the City of Westland Police Department's website under the Resources tab.
You can submit the forms to our front desk or online. Our front desk lobby is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Prior to being sent to an address, officers and other first responders will be alerted that there is a special circumstance involving the address or a person inside the location.
This registry also gives the option to upload a photo to assist our officers in identifying people who may be nonverbal and are at risk for wandering, such as those with Alzheimer's, autism, or Down syndrome.
Our goal is to provide a better emergency service and safe interaction during an emergency. The Westland Police Department is here to serve and protect you, and we hope that this program will help.
If you have any questions, you can call either Officer Kelly or myself at the Westland Police Department.
Well, welcome back. We're continuing our conversation talking about disabilities awareness. And I'm really excited. The city has a partnership with Hygera Health. And I reached out to Hygera to say, give me your best resource. So I have Rebecca Rodgers, a licensed counselor from Hygera Health in Westland. I was just talking with her on the break, and I said, do you work with kids or do you work with adults? So I'm going to give you a little background about Rebecca, but she has an expertise with children with intellectual and developmental disorders, IDD. So I was asking her about the reference. Also children with serious emotional disturbances and personals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That is a mouthful. Mm-hmm. So in Hygera, just to talk about Hygera, I don't know if you want to talk about Hygera or I can talk about Hygera, but it's a behavioral health care freestanding building. But you guys have been in the community in Westland for a long time, but they've been around since 1971.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're one of the largest, or the largest in Wayne County, and
That's
just
crazy.
provide a gamut of resources for adults, children, substance use, recovery, do it all.
Yeah, you guys just recently expanded to the building in Westland. I think it was last year.
Yeah, we got a nice facelift, so yeah.
That was exciting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was so excited. I'm so impressed. just generally with Hygera and the healthcare they provide. So do you want to tell me a little bit more about like the services that you provide at Hygera and, just different programming that you offer?
Sure, absolutely. So I am the Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Coordinator in our children's program. So we call it the IDD program for short.
Okay.
And in our children's program, not only do we have my program, we have an infant mental health program. We have just traditional outpatient therapy, which the SED program, severely emotionally disturbed. We have home-based program. We have school-based, so the therapist going into the school, prevention. I mean, there's so many services, and that's just for children.
Okay. So what schools do you guys go to?
Oh boy, we have...
You're in Wayne Westland, right?
We are in Wayne Westland. That is definitely one district. We're also in some of the schools in Dearborn.
Okay.
And then we did actually have a merger a little while ago with an organization downriver. And so we have quite a few therapists that are going out into the schools downriver. So to be honest, I don't know them all because there's quite a few.
So how long have you been with Hygera?
Yeah, so I've been there about 9.5 years now.
Okay.
When I originally started, I was just a therapist, but I was a therapist. So providing therapy for individuals with developmental disabilities. So all of the clients on my caseload had been diagnosed with some sort of intellectual or developmental disability. I would say predominantly autism. And then shortly thereafter, I moved into the IDD coordinator role. So I would say kind of like current day-to-day tasks. I do all the intakes on the new clients coming in. I do also hold a small caseload still just because I want to keep my skill set fresh, and I mean, I enjoy it. And then I have a staff of supports coordinators, which I will talk about that a little bit more momentarily, that I oversee, and then just making sure that the program's going smooth and handling any issues that might arise.
So once a parent gets a diagnosis, let's just say of autism, tell me a little bit about what their next steps would be. Do you guys do the diagnose, or do you do the actual programming that, like, treatment-wise?
Sure. So clients would come in if they've just received this diagnosis, and I would say this is probably most of the way our clients are coming in is the family's just received this diagnosis, and this is very overwhelming and scary, and they're learning about all these different services that they need for their child. So through Detroit Wayne, they can get an actual evaluation done and then get that diagnosis of autism that way. Sometimes our families are already coming in and they've gotten that diagnosis through a neurologist. So we're not officially doing the diagnosing at Hygera. They usually either we're sending them to Detroit Wayne to schedule them with that evaluation, or they've already come in with that evaluation completed. But once they get that diagnosis, every client in my program is assigned a supports coordinator. I kind of use the word case manager, supports coordinator.
Like interchangeably.
So I may do that, but we can coordinate ABA therapy for our families. So that stands for Applied Behavioral Analysis, and it's an intervention that's been found to be the most effective for individuals on the autism spectrum. So we're doing a lot of coordinating of ABA therapy. We can also coordinate speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. We have prescribers in our clinic, so if a family member is interested in getting a psychiatric evaluation or possibly medication, along with disabilities, we have a lot of dual diagnoses. So maybe along with autism, we're seeing kids with ADHD or anxiety or depression. So if a family member would want medication for their child, we do have prescribers in our clinic as well.
So the parent, so I know that you had mentioned about, like, after they get the diagnosis, they come in there for the therapy. So do you guys have groups for the parents too, like support groups or SIB groups, or like any type of support services for families?
Yeah, so to speak with the supports for families, kind of to go along with some of those other services that I mentioned, I definitely want to make sure that I mention respite. This is a big support for parents and another service that we coordinate quite often. And so basically the state has recognized that having a child with a disability is really stressful. It can be hard to get time for self-care. And so they will pay for 24 hours a month of, I basically say it's a fancy word for babysitting. And it's not for a parent to go to, work. It's so they get that self-care, so that mom and dad can go on a date, or, go get their nails done, or, whatever it might be, even to spend time with their other children. Maybe their neurotypical child has a soccer game, and it's hard to bring the other kid because they're running around and they have to keep an eye on them. This way you can go and, spend time with your other children. So that is a huge support that we have for our parents, and a service that we coordinate. Another service is called CLS, and that stands for Community Living Supports. And the staff is coming in, and they're actually working with the child on identified goals and objectives. So where the respite is just to give the parent a break, in this instance, the staff is coming in and they have, if it's taking the child out in the community and working with them on paying for something or doing chores in the house, whatever it might be, the staff is coming in, and they get around like 20 hours a week where they're coming in and working with that child. So that's another really big support, because we know kids don't always want to listen to their parents. So maybe if somebody else is coming in and working with this kid, then they might listen better and learn better. So the parent can eventually step in and work with their child. We also have a parent support partner. So this is an individual, a parent that has had a child that's gone through the mental health services. And so they're there to really support them and just help them navigate throughout, if it's school, if it's, life, we've got that support. I also just say with supports coordination in general, like we get creative with whatever these parents need help with it. So if it is connecting with different groups within the community, support groups, connecting with the ARC, maybe they need more help with navigating special education system, or maybe just somebody to attend an IEP meeting with them. I've sat in on many IEPs, and I know these parents.
I'm sure, interesting.
But the parent comes in and it's them, and then across the table are all these other people, and that's so overwhelming and intimidating. So to have somebody just there, another set of eyes and ears to support the parent. So I always say, ask. I'm sure we've coordinated it before, and we can help and we can connect you. So that there is a lot of support for parents out there, and nothing makes me more sad than when I have like the family come in with a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, and they had no idea that all these services and supports were out there for all these years.
And we talk a lot about, and I think, you and I talked about this, but my brother being lower functioning on the autism spectrum, and luckily he was diagnosed at a young age. He's close to 40. So back then the label of having autism or special needs, like they didn't give it out so regularly. So now I feel like we've made so many advances for individuals that do have special needs that there's so many more resources. So tell me a little bit more about the importance of early intervention. Because you did talk a little bit about that, but I feel like it's so important that people don't realize how important early intervention is. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Rebecca?
I mean, definitely, like I mentioned, with ABA being the most effective intervention, getting that started at an early age is so important, because, the brains are still growing and they're like little sponges. And so if we can start teaching them these skills as early as possible, it's going to allow them to have the best absolutely, to help them be more independent and adaptive within their communities.
My mom even said too, is when we talked about this, she said, I knew your brother wasn't going to have a job. Well, I mean, he does have a job, but it's really more of a chore, I guess. But she's like, his goals were always to write his name, or if he needed to sign a check, sign a birthday card. So what are those like milestones that you guys maybe discuss with parents
Oh,
Is it just
gosh.
that too, or
It's so
just probably all
different,
range,
you know?
right?
Yeah.
Depending on the child.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, because everyone is so different and everybody's goals are so different. You know, I have one mom, it was such a small little thing, but she used to tell her daughter, you know, go take a shower. You and I know what that means. Her daughter would go and stand under the water, and to her that was taking a shower, and then mom's like, I have to keep going and giving her soap and giving her shampoo. And so we created a schedule, just you know, writing out the steps, and the mom's like, it's so small, but that gave me 15 extra minutes to myself, or allowed me time to clean up the kitchen, you know. So for her, that was a big thing, you know, to create that independence. So I really can't tell you like one thing, because everybody is so different.
Yeah. But even just that too, just sharing that story, it's just the different things that people don't realize. Like
Absolutely.
individuals with special needs, you know, they take direction, and it's very black and white.
Yes.
And I'm sure you see that, you know, in your office. It's like they have like a task, and it's like, okay, it's done.
Right.
And you're like, well, you kind of missed 5 steps in between, but in their mind, you know, they completed the task. So, well, let's talk a little bit more about what challenges do you think I don't want to say clients, but those that are in your program, what do you think they face on a daily basis?
And I know we spoke, you know, a lot about this earlier. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting the education and awareness out there, especially at a young age. So I used to work in a school, and we would mainstream, you know, into the regular ed classes, and I would always go into the classroom and read a story about autism and talk to the kids, like, your new friend is just like you, they have siblings, they have a dog, they go on vacation, and then that child would be a part of the classroom, and we would have kids sign up to eat lunch with them every day, so
That's
they
awesome.
never, you know, had to eat lunch alone or play with them on the playground. And I think not only was it, you know, beneficial for the kiddo, you know, but for, you know, his peers as well. And getting that education out there and that awareness, I think, is so important, because when people don't have education and knowledge, they get uncomfortable or even fearful. And so trying to get as much of that out there as possible, I think, is so important, because, you know, our kids, they face so many different struggles. Communication, you know, is huge if they can't communicate wants and needs, and that's when we can start seeing like more behaviors happening, because that's their way of communicating. So there's so many challenges.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, even just like you mentioned about awareness, doing a show like this, you know, hopefully there's things that we talked about here that maybe might strike a chord with somebody. So
Absolutely.
my son having a special needs uncle, I feel like having that, he's lived through so much, he's seen through so much, but he also has seen the lens of just how other people have reacted to him. So, and we talk about kindness all the time. It's just being kind, being patient. And I think, you know, for the programs that you guys offer, you probably also say the same thing too. It's like, please be kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on a daily basis, so you guys offer the programming, and how would one get involved, or a parent that just got the diagnosis, the intake? Like, tell me a little bit more about that process.
Yeah,
Do they just call your office?
Yeah, there's 2 ways that they can come in.
Okay.
So one is through, because Hagera Health is contracted with Detroit Wayne.
Okay.
So they can either call Detroit Wayne's Access Center, and then Detroit Wayne would set them up with an intake with us, or they can also call Hagera Health directly and schedule with us that way as well. So step number 1 is doing the intake. Like I mentioned earlier, I do them all. I like to meet the families.
So they'll talk with you?
Yeah,
Good.
I like to meet the families, and then just hopefully if an issue should arise down the road, they feel comfortable that we had that opportunity to meet, and they feel comfortable contacting me. And then, as I said, every client's assigned a supports coordinator after that intake, and then they kind of take it from there, and whatever services the families are interested, you know, in, they don't have to use them all. They can just use respite. They can use the whole gamut. It's really up to them, but then just coordinating coordinating those services for them, doing check-ins, connecting them with, again, other resources within the community.
Now, is this something that's like insurance-based or cash pay or?
Yeah, so
both?
all the clients in our program have Medicaid. They have
Okay.
active Medicaid. So we do work with Medicaid, and
okay.
Detroit Wayne is going to work with those clients as well and getting them, enrolled with us.
Perfect. That's a good thing, especially you talked about the respite and parents needing a break. Like if they have to pay for all the services, I can imagine it adds up quickly.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So awesome. Well, I think I've talked to you a lot about the resources, but is there anything that we missed or anything that you wanted to share with those that are watching at home, or just any last words or anything?
Yeah, I think I explained all those resources, and like I said, nothing makes me more sad than these families that weren't aware of all this help and support that was out there. And I know getting a diagnosis at such a young age and being so overwhelmed with all those different things and these people telling you all these therapies that you need, we are definitely here to help families through that process and getting their children started and enrolled in those services to help them, have the most independent, life possible.
Life moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and we appreciate Hygera Health for just being involved in our community. So you guys have been a great resource. Partnered, like I said, you expanded, you partnered with the city. We talked earlier about the Westland Police with having a social worker from Hygera Health. I think we have another one too that's going to be starting. So no, we appreciate the partnership. So, well, thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
You've been so great with just sharing about what you do, and just the resources that you guys offer too is just incredible. it's for a sibling of a brother that has special needs, and seeing everything my mom went through, and a lot of that didn't exist. We had to piecemeal everything together. So knowing that a family can go to just one spot and all the resources are there is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
just shows how far we've come, right?
Yeah, even in my 9 years of being there. For sure.
I'm sure you've seen a lot.
I have.
So, all right. Well, thank you again, Rebecca, for being here again. If you want more information about Hygera, they can go to hygerahealth.org. Okay, perfect. hygerahealth.org. We're also going to have resources within this video and the show as well. So feel free to reference those resources. So again, I want to thank everyone for being on my show today. Rebecca, I also had Paschal Eze earlier, in addition to Ray Schuholz. And I hope that you found that the show was helpful, and the support that was needed we'll be sharing. Thank you for watching. As an autism sibling and someone who suffers with anxiety, I understand the challenges that a disability might bring on. Westland is a compassionate city who strives to be inclusive of all residents. As a reminder, the Westland Police Department has created a special needs registry where important information can be added and available to first responders if there's ever an emergency. Any adult or child who may have difficulty communicating due to a developmental or cognitive disability such as autism or Alzheimer's disease can be registered. Information about them will be provided to first responders if needed. You can stop by the Westland Police Department to fill out the registry or pick up a free autism care kit at the Westland Police Department or Westland City Hall. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, be kind to one another.